What's going on, family? It's SJG back with another video. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. And if you're already subscribed, hit the like button so this can get shared out to some more people. Putting myself out here consistently, trying to make more content that people can connect with, identify with, and interact with. So, yeah. It's Thursday, November 7th, 2024, just after 2 a.m., which means it's about 24 hours since I went to sleep following election night. And obviously, by the time that you're watching this, you will know that Donald Trump, the 45th president of the United States, has won the presidential election. Kamala Harris, the Democratic nominee, doesn't look like she's going to be able to find enough votes to overturn this thing. And so, yeah, here we are. It's been, I won't lie, it's been a rough 30 hours. As someone who voted for Kamala Harris, I went and voted early here in North Carolina back in October 25th. And I felt great to cast my ballot for a black woman who went to an HBCU. I went to an HBCU, and who I felt, best embody the characteristics that I would want of someone who would be the leader of the country that I have to live in. And, again, being a millennial and having seen this really politically going back to even 2000, remembering the Al Gore account back in 2000, and remembering the Bush years. I recall there were moments in this campaign where I felt something similar to 2008 with Barack Obama. I mean, that was just an amazing time, an incredible time, and that was like lightning in a bottle, and I'm grateful to have experienced that. I felt some of that a little bit with Kamala Harris. But now I bore the weight of having gone through 2016 and seeing Donald Trump actually become the president when many of us didn't think that would actually ever become a thing. And so you go through that, you live through that, we get through the Trump years, and the thing that we, in my mind, that we at least had in our favor was that he had to win re-election, or so we thought. We had to win re-election, so there was some things that kind of inhibited him. Even though he did a lot of damage while he was in there. 2020 comes and Joe Biden comes, and you're hopeful. Obviously, we had the pandemic and so many things went on. You've been here, so and he was able to defeat Trump, and he did a lot of great things in the office. But from day one, they were, working to just discredit it all. And, it's just been a lot of, it's just been the last couple of years. It just seemed like there's so much, everybody's at odds with each other. Everything is just crazy. Just so many things that have gone into effort to bring him back to winning this moment where he wins the election again. And it's just disturbing, in the last couple of years, there's been so much, there's so much feelings, and I'm still unpacking it all, as I'm sure everybody else is, so just trying to deal with it over these last couple of hours. I know, but thinking outside of myself, I've been thinking a lot about two people. Earlier this year, I had my daughter. My daughter was born, and so she's a new, fresh life. I was looking at her last night, and she doesn't know anything about what's going on. But thinking this is the first election I could think, how will this election impact my child? And it's not an abstract thing; it's a real thing. And so, that's something that I had on my mind. I've had on my mind since then. How is this going to impact her? And then I thought about my father, who passed away in September. He was lifelong Democrat. And it's ironic, when I was going to vote, I went to check out. I went to see when I looked up to see the Voting Rights Act and when it passed, and it was 1965. I knew that the same year that my dad was born, and so it actually passed a month before he was born. So my father was born with the right to vote as a black man. He's like the first generation of those folks, and so a lifelong Democrat. He instilled a lot of the political values that I have within myself at this point. And he one of the last statuses he put up was talking about the debate between Kamala and Donald Trump. And he was definitely in her corner. He was definitely going to vote for her, and unfortunately he didn't get the chance to do so. So when I went into the ballot box, I thought about him, and I felt like he was with me. And so obviously it would have been nice if his vote could have counted, but I felt like he was there in spirit. And so, the results of this election are troubling with me, and I sit with it. As I sit with it, and I'm watching things on social media, I'm perfectly fine with unfriending people or blocking or muting people who, may have anything adverse to say about my social commentary, just because I feel like in this situation with this person who has been elected the president of the United States, there is no middle ground. If you're with him, you're not for anyone who looks like me. You're not for anyone that I love that looks like my daughter, or you're aligning yourself with someone who aligns himself with the very lowest of the people in this world: hate, division, xenophobia, everything that you can think of that you don't want your children to grow up being, and you don't want the world to be. You embody that. And unfortunately for a lot of people, particularly white women and Latinos, and I don't, it's they found like that was something that they could live with instead of Kamala Harris. And this says a lot about this world. Again, having a daughter who's a black woman, having a mother who's a black woman, being a lover of a black woman, being how integral black women are to my life. Black women were the strongest voting bloc consistently for the Democratic Party, and next to them were black men. And I know black men have taken quite a bludgeoning on social media. And sometimes, and I'm kind of on the fence about it. I think there are real issues, and I think a lot of people wanted to have their voice heard, and they feel like it hasn't been heard. But I just don't feel like I don't feel like this was the election, and this is the person to align yourself with, either actively by voting for, or inactively or passively by voting for a third party. I just don't think that this is the person to do that with. And again, black men were the second best demographic for Kamala Harris, but I think still too many of us voted for Donald Trump, or didn't vote, or voted for somebody other than Kamala Harris. And there's a lot of things you could talk about that and blame that on, but that's the bottom line. And so, going forward, how we, I just don't understand, again, people voting against their own interests. And, some of the people who voted for him are so high on his list of people that he really wants out of here. And so, it's just disheartening. It's saddening. And so a lot of people are feeling like that, and they definitely have their room to feel like that. And then the other part of me is a spiritual person, as a Christian, as a follower of Christ, not evangelical Christian, not at all. I grew up in that world, and I would never classify myself as that again. But as a follower of Christ, and a believer in the Bible, it is, I do believe that, God ultimately has the say in our lives. And but it also talks about in the Bible how when you're under the rule of a wicked king, or in our instance president, how people are sorrowful. And so I know a lot of people are like, hey, you know there's some people like, I don't want to hear anything about prayer or anything like that. Like, they're just upset and devastated, and I get that. And then there are also people that are like, hey, you know what, this stinks, but this is kind of what we have, and we have to go on, and God is in control. And so I try to hold space for both schools of thought. I try to hold space for that within my own self and with others as well. So, you know, um, I don't know. It's just the situation where we got to keep moving. Unfortunately, I said on Twitter earlier that I remember reading about Reconstruction, and I didn't think that I would have to actually be living in it, and I feel like I'm living in it. I'm feeling like I'm living with the residuals of Barack Obama being the president, and people not wanting a repeat of that, and staunchly aligning with the lowest of the low to keep that from happening. So many thoughts, so many emotions, and I'm sure I'll continue to go through them all, as will you as well. But I hope you guys enjoy. This is as long. This is a political rant. I don't. Again, this is just a forum for me to get out and express my ideas and thoughts. Um, I do a lot in the sports sphere, um, and so many other things. But I just decided to sometimes come on here and be vulnerable, be real about how I feel about some things, and find community. So if you got any value from this video, hit the thumbs up. Let me know how you're coping with this. If you are disappointed, how you're feeling right now in this moment, and what you plan to do moving forward to continue to move on. So appreciate everybody for watching this. I hope you have a great day, and take care of yourselves and each other.